rise, kill, and eat.
What's going on, guys? It is Dwayne Charles, Rise and Kill Outdoors. I hope everybody's doing great today. Thank you for tuning in and listen to the third episode of Rise and Kill Outdoors. Guys, go to riseandkill.com. Make sure to get your shirts to support what we're doing, helping young men hopefully one day get out in the woods, inspiring young men and men of the church to get out and understand God's creation. That's what we're about and what we're doing. Today, we have a special guest. We have a gentleman named Boaz with Financially Outdoors. He's out of the Idaho area, and man, what a great dude. So I'm not going to keep him hanging on any longer. So guys, with no further ado, man, Boaz, how you doing today, man?
Doing good, Dwayne. How about you?
I'm doing good. Boaz, we met about a year and a half ago. I guess it's now maybe getting on to 2 years.
Yeah, something like that, close to.
Yeah, I was a foolish old man with money, and you were a young good man with money, and I reached out to you for some services, and that's how we met.
Yeah, something like that. It was a good set of meetings we had, and I think someone wanting to take providence over their life and take dominion, for lack of better terms, will end up doing that one way or another, right?
Right. So, man, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your family, your home, where you're from. Let us know who you are, man.
Yeah, definitely. So I think the good story I like to get into when someone asks me, like, hey, what's Boaz's history? Immigrant family, both sides. Technically, I'm a first and a half generation American because my dad was an immigrant kid, and my mom was born and raised in the Philippines. They met through a pen pal exchange, which is its own crazy story. We could spend an hour and a half talking about that, how a Filipina gal meets a Finnish man. And anyway, here I am, born and raised in Southwest Washington, lived in the same log style cabin for all my adolescence. And growing up, I was like, I don't know what I want to do. And Army's like, hey, I have an awesome opportunity for you. I'd be fifth generation for my family. Did that for 7 years as a religious affairs specialist. And along the way, 2 deployments, married my high school sweetheart. We had one boy, our oldest, now in Tennessee. Moved back to Washington a couple of years ago, and it was not the same place when I was a kid. It's changed drastically in that time period when I was in the service. My wife and I are like, let's figure something out. And we would always come across this section of the 84 in Southern Idaho when we're going down to her family reunions in Nevada. And we're like, this section of the Southern Idaho is nice. It reminds us of Tennessee. It's affordable. Maybe I shouldn't say that too loud. And we moved last year. It's been great. It really has been. It's been a huge blessing for our family. We now have our second son, and we've just been enjoying every minute of it. So it's been a great move for us. And let's see, along the way, Army 7 years, like I said, I did high voltage 3-phase for a bit, working on transformers when I got out of the Army. Realized climbing in holes about as big as a piece of paper, right about this big, every single day, covered in mineral oil, maybe not the best for my health. And I want to be able to, play with my grandkids and great grandkids in the future, so opportunity came up like, hey, you should get in financial services industry through my colleagues in the Army. And that's how it all started, I guess.
That's awesome, man. So you haven't been a desk jockey your whole life, man. You've done some serious grunt work then.
I've done some stuff. So in the religious affairs side of it, you are a staffer in the Army.
Well, yeah.
However, if you are going to be, in my opinion, a good religious affairs, you will be doing things with your Joes, going to the field, going to the ranges, even if it's just for a couple hours a day, whatever it's going to be. And it largely depends on the unit you're allocated to as well. So my first unit was 101st, and had a great time with them. It was definitely a good segue into the next organization I was with, which was 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment. I spent my last 4 years with them before I got out of the service. 160th is a unique beast in the sense that you you do things that are written in books sometimes on occasion, and that's only if things, are allowed to be written in books, stuff like that. So anytime you see a black helicopter or something in the news, and you see some piece of rotary wing up there, it's probably that organization. And it was a great privilege, a great honor to serve with those gentlemen, and just what they're able to do with machinery and today's modern technology is incredible.
It's I had to go to Fort Hood, or Fort Cavacus, I think is what it's called now.
No, they changed it back to Fort Hood. They changed it back to Fort Hood.
Oh, did they? Well, okay.
I think it was the private first class Hood who he ended up. I think the story was, and someone can totally fact check this, I think it was a soldier in World War II. He stormed a pillbox during D-Day and ended up destroying it, but he himself also died in the act of doing it. So they renamed it for him, not General Hood from the South.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. So, when I had to go to Fort Hood, I had to go a couple different times. And so I took the advantage of being able to be on base, and it's amazing, 40 something years and never been on a military base in America. And you drive into something that all of a sudden I'm in a military base, but I'm in a city. It's the wildest thing I've ever been. It was so wild. And, but I remember going through and seeing all these military vehicles lined up and tanks and this and that. And I'm going, how could like any country defeat this base? I was so in awe of it. And anyway, but yeah, it's crazy what I don't think most people truly understand until they step in. And I still probably have just only a minute little understanding of how advanced and powerful and the things that happen in our military just from that one visit in Fort Hood. But it's way more impressive once you just see that,
Yeah.
I was just flabbergasted, man. And I was floored. I got to walk through and go through the history and see all the statues and the memorials and the old military vehicles. And I think I spent probably 10 hours just reading statues and reading history on different military machinery. And man, it was absolutely fascinating and awesome. If you got a chance to go visit our military guys and go visit the bases, absolutely do it. Absolutely do it. Totally worth it. It gives you a whole new respect of what the big game kind of looks like a little bit. And then the craziest part to me that I thought was weird was what's the it's on all the big bases. The main store you walk in, it's kind of got everything from your
the
clothes.
commissary.
But it had a name. It had a different name than commissary.
Like the Post Exchange or something like that.
Maybe, yeah, something like that. But I walked in there and I'm going, and like there's a whole athletic shoe section of Nikes and Ons and On Clouds and all this stuff. And then it's like walking into a miniature mall. I mean, and then you walk through all that, and then there's a rifle store in it that blows anything I can get away at Academy. And I'm like, oh, I want that. I'm pissed. Why could I have access to that? But yeah, it was pretty awesome. But so, dude, you're in the southern part of Idaho is what you said, right?
Yeah, with high mountain desert. I look out my window and it is flat. I look out the south side of my house, though. There's a mountain range there. For the most part, though, we're talking, you stand on top of your truck and you're seeing miles and miles and miles.
Gotcha. So high mountain desert, what's the climate?
Arid, very windy, very temperate. And in the winter, especially, I think we were just talking about this before we got on. Winters are true winters. We're talking 3 to 5 feet of snow standing. Summers are true summers, triple digits in August and early September. But for the most part, we get 4 full seasons. I'm right off the Snake River. And it is kind of what you'd expect out of most places in the Midwest, to be honest. I'm about 4,400 feet elevation right now. So,
okay. Do you do any tracking in the area?
Tracking in terms of like snowshoe tracking, or?
whatever type of tracking you would do up there. So whether tracking animals, snowshoe tracking, or as far like basically what I'm trying to get is what do you encounter uh, when you are going through out there tracking or just hiking anything?
I
What kind of
see. Yeah.
vegetation are you encountering? what
Yeah.
kind
So
of what kind of things do you have to get through?
there's two main biomes out here, at least in my immediate vicinity within an hour. You have the desert side of it, which is just sagebrush and a bunch of the tumbleweeds. They're out here in force, those tumbleweeds are, and they will get stuck to the bottom of your truck like Velcro. So if you're okay with, dragging and cleaning the public roads when you come out of the desert, then by all means. But pretty easy going out there. The other one, though, is the mountain side of it, and that's your typical mountain landscape. You have pine trees, evergreens, some deciduous. Not a lot of underbrush, though. You can still probably get a valid shooting alley, maybe about 150 yards in the underbrush, to be honest, which from where I come from in Washington is not the case. Before I did my first out-of-state hunt this last year, my furthest kill was in Washington. Out of the 14, 15 deer I've got, was 56 yards with a bow. And then my shortest was 6 yards with a rifle in Washington. And that's just to kind of emphasize how thick the underbrush is in Washington. You can maybe only see 30 yards on average. And then on occasion, you'll maybe be on a cat road or something like that. And you'll have a little bit longer of a shooting alley, but then you're still fighting blackberry bushes and vine maples and so on.
So what was the 56 yard and what was the 6 yard? What were those kills?
They're both blacktail. So the part of Washington I come from is coastal plain area, right on the edge of it. So the west side of the Cascades. And one of them, let's see, it was mid archery season, and I was actually coming home from cross country practice, and I saw some deer right across the street from my folks' place. So I just pulled the car in the garage, grabbed my bow, and I'm just like, I'm sweaty. I'm still wearing my cross country clothes, and I'm just start crawling through the underbrush, pull out my rangefinder, range this deer at about 57, 58. And he takes 2 or 3 steps closer to me, not aware of anything that's going on. And I'm sitting there kneeling, trying to get this perfect loophole shot underneath some vine maple, and ended up pulling the shot, and ended up being really interesting because as I shot, he actually put his head down to take some more bite of vegetation. I don't remember what he was eating, and I just drilled him right between the eyes, actually.
Oh, nice.
Definitely hairy with the bow, to be honest, because you don't have the ballistic cavitation like you do with the rifle. But he just dropped, went up. I was like, all right, cool. I got my dad, and we just put him in the wheelbarrow and put him in the garage. So it was probably one of the easiest pack outs, to be honest.
Awesome.
Really
yeah, I don't packing out. That's something I've never had to do. I'm thankful I've never had to do it, to be honest with you. Not that I wouldn't. I've just never been in a situation where we hunt private property, family land, things like that. So there's never been a reason to pack out when you can get, Kawasaki mules or pickup trucks wherever you need to go, pretty much in East Texas where we're at.
That's true.
We're not true East Texas. We're kind of where East Texas starts. So, I mean, to put it in reference, we have one tall pine on our property, not 1,000. So it's where the first pine starts, and I guess you could say it's kind of that joke. And anyway, but a lot of tall oaks, a lot of tall oaks. Still a pretty good treat area. A lot of it's been cleared out with a few small wooded areas because cattle has always been around on that land. But it's still a very good area. It's growing a lot out. It's getting a lot busier. I know I hear more cars from the blind than I used to, which is kind of sad in a lot of ways for sure. But it hasn't slowed the deer down too much. I'll say that much. So that's been the good news.
I don't think it ever will. At least the part of Washington I came from is heavy in the forestry services industry, meaning like we're talking commercial farms of timber and so on. And these animals, they'll learn how to navigate all that stuff and navigate the heavy machinery, the log truck traffic, all that. And at least my part of Washington that I hunted, road networks galore. There's people driving their ATVs or quads on public land, whatever it is. Deer don't care. Elk don't care.
Mm-mm. No, it's funny. You know, there's so many weird rules we put into hunting over the years. Scent control can be important. The extremes that people go to for scent control that I find absolutely useless and has never done me any good, I find hilarious. Basically, if you just know where to set yourself up at, it's not a big deal at all. At least where I hunt, I'll put it that way. Camouflage, the amount of money we spend on camos now, buying, was it Kui, Kuiu, however you say that weird, stupid name.
Whatever.
Yeah.
What's the expensive one? Sitka that everyone harps on.
Sitka.
Yeah.
Sitka. And while it's probably it's great stuff, it's really, really, really well made. $120 for a camouflage shirt, just I can't understand. So I don't care how much money I have, I don't get that one. But anyway, but yeah, it's, you know, I remember I shot my second deer kind of like what they say our grandfather shot a deer. I walked out and put a little stool on a tree, wearing a pair of blue jeans and a t-shirt, and a deer walked right out in front of me, and she walked right out in front of me, walked right midfield 45 50 yards, and stood right in front of me as I raised my gun and shot her.
Yeah.
And I was downwind. I didn't or I was upwind, and I didn't make a lot of jerky motions. I was just slow, I was steady, and she never had a concern in the world. And it was just that simple. I don't know, man. It's like I said, we're putting a bunch of it seems like we're putting a bunch of unnecessary rules and making hunting look a lot more difficult than what it should be. And I think it's kind of scaring people out of hunting sometimes.
In a way, it should be. I think that's maybe depending on the area you're hunting in too. Because I know out east when I was in
Texas, that is true.
Yeah, because when you're, if I remember correctly, you do a lot of stand hunting, right, Dwayne?
I hunt from deer blinds. I have it's an elevated deer blind that I hunt from mostly.
Yeah.
Just because where I'm at, there's no stalking. I mean, it's 145 acres. There's public land in Texas, but it's few and far between, and I don't really mess with it.
Yeah. Out west, it is basically a combination. You can do some blinds, you can do some stands if you want, but at least the majority of people I associate with, everyone almost always is stalking. And so scent control matters quite a bit more. I would agree, though, camouflage is in a lot of ways overrated. And I end up just buying some surplus military clothing half the time, or my old uniforms, wear them and strip them accordingly, of course. But I have it. I'm going to use it. Ripstop is great, especially when you're crawling through blackberry bushes and thickets and stuff like that. But scent control is a big one. I've lost out to a number of elk off of scent alone, which is a learning experience. But I remember one time, and my wife has this photo of me when we first moved back to Washington. And that year was one of the last years you could still shoot cows or bulls with bow. Either sex, it didn't matter. And earlier that day, I got on a group of cows, and I was just pushing them, because that's kind of the strategy I've been taught from my dad way back when, is you can push them enough and eventually you're going to break them off. And that's when you can start actually hunting. And I finally broke off my cows that I was going to go for. And I realized I was going into the headwind the whole entire time. So I found the wallow they were going through, and I literally just dived into it, dived into the wallow. And I did get about 40 yards away from them. But like I said before, Dwayne, the underbrush in Washington can be atrocious. And when you're pushing these elk up there, they're, in my area specifically, they love hanging around these vine maple patches. And vine maple is this gnarly little tree that grows like an arch. If you were to make a garden around vine maple, you have all your hangings for your beans and stuff like that. You don't need to make your archways, but we're talking branches that are about as big around as the OK symbol, 2 or 3 inches around. And there's 40, 50 of them all just in a big thicket. And there's no way you're getting an arrow through any of that at all. So either having a loop under, or you're having to get them just on the outskirts of that vine maple area. And sometimes you can just never make the shot work. And I've lost out on, I say lost, but never had the ethical shot with a bow on a nice bull or a cow because of vine maple specifically. I missed out on 2 bulls and about 3 cows come from it.
Yeah. So, okay, if I remember right, you prefer bow over rifle, right?
Yeah, I'm a huge bow guy. I actually end up just getting a new bow this last year because my last one broke on me. But when you spend money on hunting, and you're going to do it for a while, you're okay with dropping some money on a newer piece of equipment, right? So,
right.
I've probably, actually, I know I have. I've gotten most of my animals via bow. I've only shot maybe 4 deer with the modern firearm and 3 with black powder. The rest of them have all been with an arrow.
Gotcha. So everything I've shot has been with my 308 right up here. So, bow hunting, we've talked about this before. Bow hunting is something I want to get into. And I think with you, what you do, you're the man to tell me how to do this affordably, considering you are the man of financially outdoors, as affordable as you can without being a laughing stock and buying a crossbow of the bow community. So
yeah, which is not, I'll say is not the only, and I'm just going to make this is totally my vendetta. The only time I should ever see a crossbow in a hunter's hand is if you have like a physical disability that enables you from pulling back the string. Because 40 pounds, at least in Washington, I think it's 40 or 45. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember the rule off the top of my head. I think it's 40 in Idaho too. But 40 pounds is not a lot, guys. You can do some bent over rows in your living room, like with your kid. Just hold your kid by their, blue jeans and give them a couple rips, and you'll be good enough in a week or two. So anyway. I digress. That's my quick diatribe.
So basically, guys, if you cannot pull the string on a 40-pound bow, Boaz just said you are kind of weak, is what he just said. I think you just slapped him. I know, but I'm just saying. I think Boaz just slapped a bunch of city boys in the face just now. Is what he did.
Yeah, I'm pulling back. I'm shooting a 70-pound bow. And I'm shooting easy, like 3 to 4 dozen arrows a session. And I'm shooting most, at least right now, because it's the off season, I'm shooting once or twice a week, at least trying to. And then when the season picks up in the summer, like that's the preseason, I'm shooting every day. I'm shooting 3 to 4 dozen, 70-pound bow. No problem.
Okay. So I'm a little bit, so let's suggest a bow for me. Okay. And I you may suggest something different for me than other guys. Now I haven't shot, last time I shot a bow, I was probably 19 years old. Okay. I'm 45 now. I know bow depends on what you can pull back, what you can get used to, everything else. I'm a big guy. I'm 6'6", 300 plus pounds. So I'm a little different stature than most men as far as above average on size. What would you tell me in going to picking out a bow?
If you're just getting started, the biggest thing that you need to consider is this will probably just be a starter for you, right? So maybe dropping good coin on a piece of equipment may not be exactly what you need to do right away, but something that's more entry level, that's still going to be reputable. Bear is one of those entry level companies that seem to hit at home a lot of times with their products, to be honest. There's some entry level Hoyts, entry level Matthews. I have a Prime, which is kind of like the hipster of the bow brands, to be honest. Some would say anyway. But the biggest thing is just find something that's comfortable for you at the end of the day. That can fit your draw length, especially being 6'6", Dwayne. Finding a bow that's going to be able to have a draw length, I'm going to guess like 32 inches, maybe 33 or 34. Might be a bigger challenge, to be honest. I'm 6'1". Okay. I'm pulling a 29 and a half, 30 inch draw length, which is, from your wrist to your hand. And that's pretty long for most people because most people aren't over 6 foot. So
Right.
it helps. The longer draw length you have definitely helps because you get more feet per second out of your bow. But the biggest thing, honestly, is you're just looking to build form, learn how to shoot your device, right? That's the biggest thing. Shoot it with good accuracy and build that repetition. In terms of things to look for, in today's age, there's some things we can talk about that can make a huge difference in the performance and consistency of your bow.
Mhm.
And we know with rifle, it's pretty easy to be consistent once you find, that right off the shelf cartridge, or if you reload, great, find the right grain weight, the right type of, polymer, soft nose tip, whatever you got, right? But I think in today's age, having dual cams, right, on your bow is important. Some bows will have just maybe a single roller on the end. That was my first bow I had. I had a old High Country from my dad. He gave me when I started bow hunting when I was 13, he bought that when I was born. So I inherited a 13-year bow. It was a compound bow, and I shot that all the way up until I was 25.
Okay.
And then it exploded in my closet. Literally exploded in my closet. Because there's a different type of maintenance you can do on bow, and I didn't realize all the maintenance that happened at the time. So I ran that thing wet, put it away wet. It still performed. I shot it every week during season, and hey, I'm glad it didn't explode when I went to go pull it back, at least, which can be bad. The other one
that would have been rough.
Yeah, is making sure you have good quality aluminum, whatever it is. In my opinion, at today's age, that's kind of a gimme. But with that is also maybe a warranty too. If you're going to spend possibly $1,000 or so on a setup for the bow itself, sight, quiver, and a release for entry level, maybe, then having something with maybe a warranty with it, good quality aluminum, will go a long way. But dual cams, I think, is like probably one of the biggest check marks for me anyway. If you happen to just get a really good deal on a single cam bow, go for it. There's nothing can be really that wrong with it. And I had plenty of reliability and plenty of accuracy with my single cam bow. Because I got 11, 10 animals with a single cam bow for a number of years, had no issue. The next thing obviously is just getting an arrow setup that's going to work best for you, something that's repeatable. I just end up using, what am I shooting right now? The Easton Access is like one of the most popular arrows you can find nationwide. And for me, because I'm shooting such a long draw length, I don't even have to cut them, which is nice. Shorter dudes are gonna have to cut your arrow, which adds just a little bit of fee. I think overall, if I'm shooting just field tips, my arrows are like $6 an arrow, which is, a little expensive when you look at it compared to, a rifle, but I can reuse my arrows as long as I'm not throwing them in the dirt,
Gotcha.
And refletching them is pretty easy too. There's a lot of fletch kits that are really cheap, but ultimately, if you're looking to get an archery, I can't necessarily just give a blanket recommendation like I just like with my professional job, right?
Well, no, you're fine.
No,
it gives good insight.
I would definitely say this. My two biggest things, like of actual direct counsel, I can definitely give: buying used, buyer beware. Huge buyer beware. If you dry fire these things, the limbs crack. They can crack. And newer bows, I've seen some bows, like, hey, guys bring them out of the box and they're testing, they got the money for it. They'll dry fire it the first thing they do. And then they'll shoot all their arrows. They'll group it. They'll dry fire it again. They'll group their arrows, and the bow it never explodes. And I'm like, that's crazy. But you're talking about like a $3,000 bow. Composite bows, when you're mixing different material types, like different types of aluminum or fiberglass or carbon fiber, whatever it might be, maybe not the case. So if you happen to forget one used, hopefully you can get it from a friend that, hey, yeah, this thing's clean, never been dry fired. I would look into maybe getting that for a good price. The next one, and the easiest one, honestly, just go to your local bow shop. The professionals in there more or less will know what to do and how to like size you up, tell you what's good or bad. It'll kind of depend if they get paid hourly or by commission for what they sell. So just kind of be aware. But for the most part, though, they'll tell you what you need. You can do some research online. YouTube's great. YouTube can teach you anything these days. So do your research before, figure out what's in your price point or what's going to work for you. But those are two biggest things: buy everywhere on used bows, and go to a pro shop. To be honest, Bass Pro, Cabela's, hit or miss.
Yeah.
I'm talking like a dedicated, like this is the archery shop.
It's just a bow shop. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So real quick, what happens when a bow explodes?
It does explode, not in the way we're thinking about it. A lot of times, at least from the videos I've seen one bow explode in person, which is also really sketchy. But these limbs right here, so this is your main body, your frame of the bow. These limbs, these are what crack. And you can see like D-rams on the side, kind of like wood splitting. And this is what will explode and come back and just slap you in the face.
Nice.
Yeah, so you're pulled back, and imagine I got 70 pounds of tension on here, and my limbs just, and it's going to go and follow this string, which is right up here.
Right through your face.
My face. And this is aluminum. I think the grade of aluminum on this bow is like a high 6,000 grade, so it's dense. That would really suck. The worst part would suck if you have composite limbs, basically like a fiberglass aluminum style mix.
Because it shards, I guess.
Yes, fiberglass flying into your face at Mach whatever. I would not want that for anyone. So
that would be really bad. Used
bows, caution. If you find a used bow for a good price and you bring it to a pro shop before you buy it, they can inspect it and can maybe help you a little bit. Maybe.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
Have you ever seen the YouTube channel Kentucky Ballistics?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, stick a thumb in it. The dude, yeah, for people who don't know, this guy, he shoots everything in the world. He doesn't, I mean, he's got shotguns that were commercial duck hunting guns that are the size of a John boat that he fires. I mean, he's got some wild stuff. He had this 50, it was a 50 cal, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You remember? It was a 50 cal, and he was shooting some shady ammo out of it. I forgot what the ammo was, but it was a different 50 cal.
Round.
You unscrew, yes, and you unscrew the back of this 50 cal. It's not like a bolt action. You unscrew the back of it, you put the round in, you screw it back in, and I forget the whole firing sequence on this rifle, but nevertheless, when he pulled the trigger, that thing exploded, and it went. It hit him in the jugular and then went down one of the, or something like that. And then I think it broke, the cap came off, broke his cheekbone or something like that too. But yeah, it hit his main artery in his neck, his carotid artery. And he had to literally stick his thumb in his neck, and his dad had to haul him to the hospital as fast as possible before that guy died. That is a freaky thing, man. Yeah. Weapons exploding is never an easy thing to watch. So yeah, luckily they're few and far between.
Yeah, and just maintenance, just like maintenance on your rifle, maintenance on your truck, you do maintenance on your bow, and it just looks a little bit different. It's really not that hard. You just gotta do it. And we know, I'll say this, if you're not good at doing maintenance on your truck, which I think is kind of like a baseline thing, like get your oil changed, get your coolant changed every so often, rotate your tires, change out your brake pads. I'm not trying to dissuade you from archery hunting by any means. I encourage it, but just be aware there's some maintenance, a little bit more than your rifle.
Right. So in other words, if you're not willing to maintain the everything days of life, probably don't go get a bow. That would probably be the best aspect, I would think.
Unless you're just doing it for the range and you're having a good time with it, by all means, who cares,
Right. So exactly. Well, so Financially Outdoors, it's an interesting name for a company. And it's an idea you had a couple of years back and something you've been working on ever since. Tell us about it, man.
Yeah. So I think the story should go this way. When you get out of the service, you end up, you get so wrapped up in certain things, like it becomes a large portion of your identity. Like, hey, I'm doing this thing. I'm in like I joined for the very traditional reasons, like service to my country. I very much enjoyed the small town community that I grew up in, and very thankful for. Yeah, and I'll say that, and this is still like mid 2000s, right? I graduated 2016 from high school, but the school I graduated from was your very much traditional, like viewed school. They weren't progressive by a whole lot of means. They were a school to like do what school was supposed to be for, at least in terms of the American perspective, right? And I was just really thankful for everyone in that community. It's like, hey, I'm going to join for many reasons, but mainly I thoroughly love and enjoy my community, my family. I'm an able-bodied young man. Let me go and do this. So you leave all that behind, and you start wrestling with certain ideas in your mind, like, am I valued? Am I worth anything? Because I used to be responsible for this much, and now on paper I'm responsible for this much. And trying to make that computation in your head doesn't necessarily work out that well, especially when you yourself are wrestling with certain ideas with Lord still. And it's like, all right, what am I going to do? What do you want me to do, God? And it was late archery season in 2023, I think. The first winter after me getting out, because I got out in August, yeah. And I remember sitting at the edge of this clear cut, and it's just a frosty morning, and there's they're called ferns, like little brush ferns, and they're maybe 2 feet tall, and the elk will graze on them, and there's some salal patch in there too. So I'm just sitting here, just freezing, just thinking to myself, this is I've seen elk in here before. Just wait, and hopefully one will come up in the morning and get some morning munchies so I can maybe get a shot, right? And the sun just starts cresting through the trees in the background, and I'm just start praying. I was like, Lord, what do you want me to do? I'm just sitting in this weird phase of life, and really just kind of questioning where you have me at right now. And I just had this feeling is like, look, Boaz, like, you're doing what you need to do, but someone else probably needs to be in this situation too, where they're experiencing what you're experiencing. So go make it happen, get yourself squared away, and do it. And that was the impression I got. And I was like, I haven't had this conviction in a long time. I really haven't. Like, to be like, what do I need to do to better me? And for a long time, and I feel like a lot of guys get caught up like, okay, I have this talent, and how do I need to use it to like benefit like myself, or share it with me, or benefit my family? It's like, well, sharing with your family is good, but like, what about benefiting your brother? What about benefiting that widow down the street, or someone that just really needs the help? And sharing, and diversifying and explaining your talent is a good way to do that. And I've been fortunate in my life where I've never had to really worry about my finances. I've never had to worry about like taking care of those basic, needs that we have in this country. And I was like, well, and then the next thought came in my mind. I was like, well, if I can have someone be in a position where they can be in a financial position to be outdoors and experience something adjacent to this, where they can be in God's creation and not have to worry about PTO, not have to worry about affording it or do it on a budget. I really don't. I literally saw this video last year, and it was hilarious. This dude got this monster bull elk, and he threw it on his 1998 Toyota Camry. And I was like, yes, this is what it's all about. Go outside, no matter what the circumstance, or don't be crazy about it, of course. But if you get a bull elk and you have a Toyota Camry, awesome. Make it happen.
That poor Camry. That poor Camry. It was hurting.
This thing was massive. It was a 7x6, I think. And the thing was squatted to the ground. You think like veteran meat, like, oh, that thing's loaded with explosive. No, it's loaded with meat. About 500 pounds of it. And I'm just thinking, other people need to be in a position where they can go outside and just feel the confidence to do so, where at least I can do my portion and be like, hey, financially, you can go outside. I'm not the best hunter. I'll be honest. I'm not the most successful. I don't think. I do have a lot of deer to my name. I don't have a lot of elk. I have one cow elk to my name, uh, but I go outside. I go outside a lot. I enjoy coyote hunting, which is not cheap. At least the way I do it, it's not cheap, and I really enjoy that. And I just want other people to go outside and feel like they have the comfortability on the finances side to make it happen. So that way they can get their hunting side squared away. And if they want to pay for a guide, I'm not going to nick you for that. By all means, do it. There's some things in the future I would like to go on a hunt for. And I think I'd probably just end up maybe going the guide route eventually. But that's like the whole reason I think like the best 5-minute, 3-minute, however long that was, explanation of financially outdoors.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Yeah, it's you mentioned some things through that about getting people back out in God's creation. And that being a big part of what you're doing, and a big part of your mission. And of course, that's a big part of our mission here. That's what we've stated since the first episode. It's what we're going to continue to state till the last episode, whenever that may be, and hopefully not soon. And I think there's so many people out there who don't understand, especially in the world that we're in, and around and a lot around of theologians, reform guys, things like that. That I'm trying to get them to wake up and see. You're reading about God's creation, you're reading about God's theology, but are you really truly experiencing it? And that doesn't mean walking throughout your town and your cities. No, the tree in your front yard is God's creation, but you're still not experiencing God's creation. You're not. That tree's not going to let you know God's creation. In other words, first thing Adam was given before he was given a woman was he was given a garden with beasts and plants and things to tend to and take care of. Man has forgotten that mission. He was given mission before he was given a bride. That's how important this is to man. And I think we don't realize that a whole lot. I think God gave Adam what he needed first, and then said, okay, now it's not good that he's alone. Let's give him a companion, and let's give him a helper. And that's exactly what God did. Men don't understand what they're capable of, I don't think, a lot of times, until they experience God's creation in true raw form. They don't know how hard they can push themselves. They don't know how hard they can anticipate things. It triggers so many senses. You think it's funny. You think you got it all figured out in the work world, like you've got good common sense because you can react at work this way, or you can react at home that way, and you make the right calls and you make the right judgments. But when you go to a place where you're not in control, where you can't dictate the narrative with your words, your wit doesn't get you anywhere. And it's truly, how do you react on the fly when nature is telling you what to do? And that happens.
Yeah.
Nature can tell you what to do real quick, and you ain't got no choice,
control.
And you've got
it. Yes.
And I think that builds a whole new character in a man and a whole new appreciation for what we've been gifted. It's so true. The most beautiful places in the world are often the most dangerous places. And that beauty comes with great dangers, but also great excitement and great adventure and wonderful things. And I've looked at these things my whole life, and I haven't got to experience so many of them, but I yearn. The more I get out there, the more I yearn for them, the more I want to see them, the more exciting it is to me. And it's like, how do I make this happen? How do I get to where I want to go? I'm 45 years old. So what? I've got 20 more years if I take really good care of my body to really push the limits of it. If I'm lucky, that's very lucky.
At 20 more years. I mean,
But
My
in
dad,
reality,
my dad's turning 82 this, and he's funny. He's born on Reformation Day, but he's turning 82 here soon enough, and he's out in the woods every day. In fact, my mom sent me a photo yesterday. Him and the neighbor out there in the woods filling their wood permit.
Oh wow!
And because they both burn about 5 cord of wood a year for their stoves. So they got to take in about 5 cord of wood. They got to get 2 or 3 wood permits a year because they're only worth about 1 cord or 2 cord each. And they're filling their trucks with not these little they're filling them with 200-pound rounds. These two,
oh man,
for a lack of better terms, these 2 geezers. Love my dad, love my neighbor. That's what they even call themselves now. And my neighbor is actually even older than my dad. He's 86. And I'm just amazed at how these gentlemen just go about conducting themselves in this form of their life. And I've only known my dad as an old man because I'm 28. Do the math there. And he puts animals away. He packs them out. Still to this day, he fills trucks of wood and he tends to his garden every year. He looks forward to his garden. And the stewardship that comes with that, the initial stewardship that Adam was endowed with is like, look, you have this thing to take care of. And in today's age, it's shifted a little bit. And I'm not saying we need to leave the city, go start a garden right now. Not necessarily. No, whatever you've been put into right now, steward it. And if that means
correct
a paycheck and you're going to the grocery store, okay, there's nothing wrong with that. But be resourceful with what you have. Don't be wasteful, even if the grocery store or the restaurants or whatever are still throwing out, metric tons of produce. That doesn't mean you have to contribute to it. And it doesn't mean you have to be wasteful with what you've been given either. You should definitely be resourceful with it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. You mentioned that waste. I got a few pigs to feed out not too long ago. Okay. And of course I need, buy some bag feed, 14, 16% protein feed out, depending on what stage they're in. But I hit up the grocery stores in my area, and I'm in Waxahachie, Texas, which is 45 minutes south of, not even that far really, of downtown Dallas. Okay. But it's funny, if you're not familiar with the Dallas area, used to be, not so much anymore. I'm talking like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, used to be. You could drive out of downtown Dallas and in 20 minutes start kind of getting into some rural areas when you went south. It was that quick. That's just how quick that area ended. Now, of course, it's rapidly expanding our way now. But so I called our local grocery stores, and because I know they have a ton of waste. And I said, hey, can I get your produce waste for my pigs? The stuff you're throwing out, that's, and whatnot. And they said, nope, nope, nope. And I said, well, why not? And it was funny because it was going to all the packing plants. And I was like, really? You'll support the packing plants before you support your local farmer who buys stuff from you? I was so frustrated. But it is what it is, man. It's a corporate world. But yeah, dude, it's amazing the waste that comes out of things now. We're such a wasteful society. And then we say we have nothing. The people who hem haw and gripe and say they have nothing are usually the most wasteful people, actually. I find sometimes. Not always, not all, but not all. But a lot of times. And I caught myself being that way not too long ago. So that's why I'm so recognizing of it now, is because I was so wasteful with the things that God was giving me and then going, why don't I have anything? And then I realized, and I look back over the years, and that's just wisdom finally hitting, I guess, and said, man, there's so many things I want to do at my age. As I look at this, and I'm considered to be on the downhill side of things in life, at that middle age crisis or whatever you want to call it. And I'm like, in Boaz, I'm just kind of like, if I hadn't been wasteful for 27 years of adult life, I could fly to Idaho right now and go on an elk hunt with Boaz and not even think twice about it. Of all the money I've wasted, or I could buy the land behind our property right now, our family land right now that's going up for sale probably, and expand our family land right now if I hadn't been wasteful all these years. It's I really want to encourage these young men out here to start thinking that way right now. Because at 45, even though I'm speaking like that's such an old man, it's not such an old man. I still, in reality, have anywhere from, on the average, male, whatever. Now I'm a Great Dane, so that knocks 10 years off my life. But as far as size. But when you think about it, Boaz, it really does. That gives me anywhere from 65, 70 up to your dad's age to enjoy those things.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's up to your dad's age, I've only lived half my life.
Yeah.
Close to it. But it does go by fast. You're young.
It does.
Yeah. How old did you say you were, Boaz?
I just turned 28. I have my high school 10-year reunion is this summer, which is, for me, I still think about high school, like just the random thought comes in your head, it's like, that was 10 years ago. A lot has happened in 10 years, but also a lot hasn't happened at the same time.
Exactly. Exactly right. And I remember at 28, looking back and thinking, it almost felt like I could walk back into high school and nothing be changed, at times, because it seems like it was yesterday, but it's 10 years later. And that's just the way life is, man. And at 45, it's the same way. I can look back now and I'm like, I could go do what I did was at 28, just like I used to do it. And no, I can't, because there's been some physical limitations since then. But I can still do it, just not like I used to. But man, give us some words here real quick as we wrap up. I think we sit here and we reviewed how life works and wastefulness and understanding a little bit more about God's creation and diving into some new stuff like bow hunting. Like, that would be new for me at 45 years old. At 28, you're at a really good age, where you're not so old you don't understand the generation behind you that's fixing to be adults, but you're not so young you're starting to understand the generation before you and the wisdom that they have, which is a really unique age and something that you really should take advantage of. And I think you are, because you're out there coaching young men and track and field events and relating to them, and hopefully getting to preach and teach and things like that. Give these young men some encouragement as we close out.
I think the biggest thing in today's age is we probably take too much heed of someone else's word rather than trying to figure out the path that the Lord is setting before you. We think that we need to do things, or we're told to do things like, you have to go to college, you have to do things this way to be somebody. And you already are somebody, but trying to capitalize on that route, that plan that the Lord has set before you, is something that's not going to come from another man in most cases. There might be some mentoring along the way, that someone will come in and chime in for maybe a week or a time. Maybe even some random person said one thing some random day and that stuck with you for some random reason. Use it. Use it to fuel yourself with whatever drive and thought you have. Like these ideas of seeming like, hey, I want to do this thing. Okay, don't figure out how to do it. Like I said before, YouTube, you can do anything. To Google, you can find anything on the internet. So just be cautious with that. Either pro or con, whatever you're trying to go for. Like, I mean, just dead serious. So whatever answer you're looking for, you might find the answer. It may not be the route that needs to be taken to get there. For example, right? I was very fortunate. I had a leader when I was in the Army who knew that I wanted to get into real estate investing, and I didn't know how to do that. And I would look up things online and try to figure out the different strategies, because like I didn't come from a lot of money, and while I was in the service, like, you don't make a lot of money either. And he pulled me into his office, and then we're literally in Afghanistan right now, and I just happen to be like in base, not traveling. And he's like, "Hey, Boaz, you should like look at these things, these resources, and then next week come back and follow up with me." And so knowing him, like, hey, I had to basically kind of like a little report. Couple months down the road, we get back stateside. He retires. He messaged me again, like, "Hey, I have this opportunity for you. We can rich dad, poor dad this thing. I don't have a lot of money to pay you, but I can pay you an experience." If you haven't read Rich Dad Poor Dad, that's my one plug for this episode. It's a good book to read in terms of like perspective of what you can do. And I'm like, great, let's do it. I've been fortunate enough now that former company, he was my XO at the time, but executive officer. He was like, "Hey, set me along this path," and I wouldn't believe it, but I'm playing Monopoly in today's age, and I'm just very thankful for it, providing reasonably priced affordability for people that need it. It's benefiting them. It's benefiting me in other ways that, I couldn't really know. But the biggest thing is like, I wouldn't thought this would be an opportunity for me because I put a cap on an idea that like, oh, I can only do this because I come from this background. Like I said at the very start of this meeting, come from an immigrant family on both sides, dirt poor farmers. Both of my parents know what actual starvation is like. And they would tell me that as a kid, don't be wasteful, don't waste your food. And the meat on an animal that some people just don't even touch, the rib meat, is actually one of my most favorite cuts of meat, to be honest. I love making jerky, and I make it out of the rib meat. And I probably eat it faster than my backstrap sometimes. There is nothing in today's age, especially if you're in the States, there is nothing that's going to really be there that's going to stop you from doing what you want to do. Make sure it's accordance with God's will to the best of your ability, especially if you're new to the faith, like trying to figure that walk, especially if you're thinking like, why am I walking on the beach alone? Like, no, you're not walking on the beach alone. If you know that analogy, great, go for it. I'm not going to go down that today, but maybe look that up. But anything's capable. Who you marry matters a lot. So
amen.
Don't get so it's like, wow, she's really pretty. Great. That's maybe one part of the equation. Now, what about the other 40 or 50? There's probably one more that matters quite a bit more than just how well
absolutely
potential bride looks. So when you do those things in the time frame, not our time frame, but the time frame of the Lord, it makes things much easier to understand. And when something goes wrong, to our mind, you realize, wait, maybe it wasn't just supposed to happen then. Maybe it'll happen later, maybe it won't happen at all, and that's okay. I'm just going to keep pursuing, and then once something isn't in my ballpark anymore, the Lord will let me know. He'll close the door.
Amen.
And that's really it. So to wrap it up is like, look, today's age, anything's capable. If you want to go outside, go hunt and shoot monster elk or monster mule deer, blacktail, whitetail, you can do it, and you don't need to spend a lot either. But maybe some research on the other end will help. But to gear yourself out and not know how to use it either is equally as wasteful as throwing away your food. And
yes, sir.
With that as well. There is a balance. You don't need the latest and greatest, but if you know you're going to be committed to something after doing it for a while, then maybe it's okay to allocate some serious funds towards something. I had that hand-me-down bow from my dad, which was considered very much obsolete for a number of years, still putting away animals. And the only thing I had to buy every year was new arrows. And so it came to a point where I was actually more or less profitable hunting. After tags, I bought walk-in permits. So I would just walk in or bicycle in. I would rarely ever buy a drive-in permit. And once you acquire a new piece of gear, then it's like, all right, cool. Now, for me, the way I think is like, how can I get back into being profitable? So for me, that just means spending time outside, enjoying it. And now that I have young boys, my youngest loves coming out scouting with me. And this year, he's going to basically be 4. So in my opinion, he's ready to come out hunting with me because that's when I started going out with my dad.
That's awesome.
So he's going to come out. Mom's going to hate it. I'm going to try and put her at ease the best I can because she comes from the city, and that's okay. But she's also growing to love the outdoors too. So I don't know, that diatribe, however that makes sense for the young man out there, for maybe the middle-aged man, maybe the person that's just getting into hunting. You can be more resourceful than what you think is being told to you. There's not a lot needed to get started along this journey, whether that is going outside, getting your finances squared away. There's not a lot. So just take that as you were.
Gotcha. Well, Boaz, man, we sure do appreciate it. Stick around. Don't hang up just yet. But, and I'll get back with you here in just a second, man. But we sure do appreciate it. Tell people how they can find you.
Yeah, I'm on socials, Instagram, Facebook mainly. I have a small YouTube page. I post some random stuff to occasion. But if you're looking to set a meeting with me, boaz.money, pretty indicative of a name, right? But that'll be the page. It'll be under the large firm that I'm under, which is Dominion Wealth Strategists. You'll see my header right underneath there. Budgeting considerations. If you need help with the budget, doesn't cost you anything. If you need help with some debt that you don't like to have, most people don't, free insurance consultation, retirement consultation, and then what's the last one that I do? Oh yeah, the probate, wills, trusts. I shouldn't say it that way. What should I say it? I should say it. What's the word I'm looking for? Looking to maximize your generational legacy. That's the way to put it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So most of it is relatively free, to be honest. I don't charge for time. And there's some referrals in there occasionally with like doing financial planning for some other things and so on. So anyway, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Okay. And guys, I'll put some links down in the comments on the YouTube videos and things like that. Don't forget to check everything out at Spotify. See, right now we're on Spotify, we're on YouTube, we're on Rumble, and we're on Amazon Music. Not on Apple iTunes right now because Apple iTunes, it's a pain in the butt for some reason. And I don't have anything that's Apple. So they're not wanting to work with me too well for some reason. That's the only thing I can figure out. But Boaz, hang on just a second and we'll be right back and I'm going to close this thing out. All right, guys, that was Boaz, and I sure do appreciate every one of you guys joining in today. I want to remind y'all one thing, and that is the gospel of Jesus Christ. That is the only thing that can save your soul. Adam, we are all descendants of Adam. He is the fallen man, the one whose seed who felled us all. He was given the ability to sin. He was made perfect, but could sin, unlike God. And he did choose sin when he bit of the forbidden tree. So, guys, through that, we are cursed. There's nothing we can do. We are lost in our depravity. There is nothing we can do to save ourselves. There is no work. There is no good deed. There is nothing that will earn our way to heaven and into the arms of our Savior, Jesus Christ. But what Jesus Christ did was he came as a man. He died on the cross. He lived a perfect life before he died on that cross. He was tortured before he died on that cross. He was cursed before he died on that cross. But also before he died on that cross, he fulfilled every prophecy of the Old Testament, proving that he was Messiah, proving that he is king, and proving when he raised himself from that grave in 3 days, and tomorrow's Easter Sunday, hallelujah, God bless, my Savior is raised, he is alive, and he is ascended, sitting at the right hand of the Father. And if you put your trust in him, if you declare him as Lord, if you declare him as king, you come into agreement with his word. His mercy and his grace will shed upon you. He will sanctify you. He will call you from the dead. You will hear his voice and you will be saved. You will be with Christ for eternity. You will have a resurrected new body on the day of his coming when he comes again. You will take part in the new heaven and the new earth. Hell will be something that is a distant memory for eternity. God gave us so many blessings, and we look around and everything that is foul and everything that is here is because of us, not because of him. It is his grace and mercy that gives us hope and gives us joy. It's his common graces that so many people don't even understand of why they can walk through life and be able to smile at times. Call upon the name of Christ. Understand that is the gospel and the gospel alone that saves. And then take the first command and go forward and be baptized and declare his name everywhere you go. That Jesus is King, that Jesus is Lord. And repent of your ways Turn from your sin. Guys, there's no special prayer that can save you. It's only putting your faith in Christ Jesus and coming in full agreement of who he is and what his word says. So guys, on that note, may your hearts be filled with Christ. May your freezers be filled with meat. And if that's the case, your home will always be filled with joy. God bless. This is Rise and Kill Outdoors, and we'll see you next time.
Rise and kill outdoors.